All right. Hey, everybody. Looks like we're live. So I always like to start off by saying hello. Can you hear me? Can you see me? And then we'll get started, introduce our guest, and go from there. So can you guys see us and hear us? Or me, anyway, so far. I bet you can, but no one has just typed it yet. I just got my notification. So are we live now? All right, good. Yes, we got the yes. As long as someone says yes, then I think we're good. Well, I want to welcome everybody to the chat. We've already got some people rolling in here. You know, this is Thursday Tank Talk. We do this on Thursdays. Lately, we've been having some special guests, and this week's no different than the last. We've got Miss Susie from QueAquatics here with us. Say hello, Susie.
Hey, everybody. Susie Q here.
So we're happy to have her with us tonight. So we're going to kind of go through and I've got some questions and we're going to talk about these things. We're just going to have kind of a chat. So we're just going to have a good time and hang out like we always do. So if anybody's got any questions or anything like that, if you would, I learned this from Dan with Dan's Fish by watching his. It's very easy to notice if someone has a question or something they want to say, if they'll put at BamAquatics or at QueAquatics, then that way we'll be able to see it. So we'll say hello to everybody. We got PetSotics, we got Diego, Blue Waters, Heirloom Aquatics. Heirloom Aquatics, I think, was the first one in the chat, and then Blue Waters. And then Diego joined in there with PetSotics. We got Nature Nerds here, Heirloom Aquatics. Don Gallagher's here. Daryl's here. Of course, we have Susie. We've already mentioned that. And we've got Cameron with Learning to Fish Keep. So we're glad to have everybody here. So we're just going to kind of, there's Payman just came in. So we will, we're just going to kind of talk a little bit. We got some things going on, but I usually start off the chat, Susie, by asking, like, how did you get into fish? How did you first decide you wanted to be in fish, and kind of what was your first aquarium, or what did you, how did you start out?
So believe it or not, when my granddaughter turned 2, I bought her a tank, and that was a year ago. A year ago in March, and I just went to the pet store the day before her birthday and said, I want to make a fish tank for my granddaughter tomorrow. He's like, that's not how it works. So he tried to explain some things to me, and he sent me home to do some research, and I've been setting up tanks ever since. And I still have that guppy tank.
How about that? Yeah, that's kind of the same boat I'm in too, because I started out, again, of course, when I was younger, I had a few tanks here and there and kind of been in and out of fish a little bit. But it's been only about a year ago that I got my tank most recently too. So I'm kind of in the same boat. So needless to say, you got bit by the bug as well, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got bit all right.
And so how many tanks did you say you have?
I have, I'm going to say about 30. But 2 or 3 of them are quarantine tanks, getting ready for, you know, if fish just happen to pop up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sometimes that happens. Fish just kind of sometimes pop up when you least expect it, right?
They do, especially because I belong to 2 aquarium societies, and they have auctions every month for these amazing fish that come up for a couple dollars. I was like, I like that.
Yeah, and I can't go into a pet store without you know, an aquarium shop or whatever without coming out with something. You can't hardly go in and come out empty-handed. It just seems like something's wrong if that's the case.
It does.
Heirloom Aquatics had a question. Yes, they asked if that's a new rack behind me. It is. This rack here to this side of me anyway. There's a new tank right here. Haven't even had a video on that. You guys get to see things first when we do this stream. So this is sort of the debut of this tank. This is my the swordtails that I had in some other tanks. So yeah, that's a new tank behind me. It's a new rack. So there'll be some more things coming up soon about all that. But Susie's got some major stuff going on in her fish room. She's actually moving fish rooms, I believe, moving to a new location. Is that right?
Boy, am I. I'm moving tanks downstairs into my basement, and it has been an ordeal. So far, I think I've moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tanks so far. Fish. Some of them got upgrades, and it's like yeah, what's that puzzle where you have to move one piece to move the other, and then move the other? That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. So it's like crazy. But I've been flooding tanks a lot lately, and not necessarily because I'm filling a tank, for all different reasons. The last time I flooded, I was siphoning with my Python, and I unscrewed it and had it in the sink. Went downstairs to do something, and apparently came out of the sink, and a whole tank drained on the floor, and it just started raining on me. I was like, I'm not even doing water right now.
Oh wow,
So
that's something else. And you said you're. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one that happens. I all the time will like be filling up a tank, and then I'll get to doing something else over here in another tank, and then all of a sudden this one over here is like up to the top, and I have to run over and grab it. And oh man, so at least I'm not the only one that happens to.
You are not the only one.
Yeah, Honeybee's here. She's here all the way from the UK, so we need to say hello to her. She said she's staying up late. She's awake late. She stayed up late to come and visit with you tonight. She said it's a nightmare trying to move tanks. So you said you're trying to move tanks using just 2 tanks. So tell me kind of explain to us how you're doing that.
So I actually had to sleep on it for several nights to figure this out. And just getting so I could, I had 2 tanks, 2 40 breeders. And if I set the first 40 breeder up, what could I move that would be conducive to moving something else over, to moving something else down? So that's how I did it. I set it up. I used the same substrate. So I still had a lot of beneficial bacteria. I have almost all sponge filters. I used the sponge filters, but obviously I didn't use the water. And then moving the tank, I had to empty the tank because I was so afraid some of the stuff was so, heavy that it might do some damage to the tank. So just 1, 2 tanks at a time. And even now I'm sitting here thinking, like, if I move those red-tailed platies out, I can move the turtle tank down a shelf to move those tanks over. It's like it just came to me. I want to write it down.
Well, go ahead. You can write it down. Go ahead if you need to. I know if you're like me, when you go a little bit and think about something else and whatever, I have a pad and a pen right here beside me. So as we're talking, sometimes I take a little note, something I want to come back to or something, so I know exactly where you're coming from. So that has to be like a puzzle, like you said, to try to figure out which one to move and which one, how to do it. And I couldn't imagine that.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
So when you're doing it, so you take all the substrate, let's say, out of a tank, and you take it downstairs and put it in a different tank. And so you've moved the fish, I guess, to a temporary area, and then you take the sponge filter and all that stuff down, and then you take the fish down. Is that how this works?
No, because I had 2 empty tanks, I moved substrate into 1 tank, old sponge filters into that tank, filled it with water, let that set while I was working on the second tank. And then I brought the fish down into the first tank, which cleared up this tank, and then emptied that tank, and then I just kept going. I used racks from Home Depot, I think very similar to your racks, that the 40 breeder fits right in perfectly, so you kind of have to build the rack around it. So that's what I did, trying to build my 40 breeder wall, and then these black racks, 20 longs fit on great.
Yeah,
so
this rack came from, I think, Home Depot. And Diego had asked earlier, before I forget Diego's question, like we were just talking about. Yes, they're pretty sturdy. I haven't had a problem. I've got this, and it's going to hold it. It says these say they will hold 800 pounds per shelf. Now, I doubt that's the case. I wouldn't take that, but I'm only going to have about 300 pounds on a shelf because I'm going to use a 20 long and a 10 gallon, so probably about 350 maybe.
Okay.
So this rack is almost perfect for either 4 10 gallons turn long ways, or either a 20 long and a 10 gallon turn long ways on that one. So that's the way I'm using these racks behind me.
I like that idea. I have about 4 or 5 10 gallon tanks. If I did it long ways, they'd all fit on one shelf.
Right, they would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I've done, and it's deep enough that they fit on there without any problem. So.
Check it out.
Say hello to, though. We've had a lot of people come in here in the last little bit, We got Rob in the house. We have Peter.
Hey, Rob.
Bob Guppy. Peter came on in. Raccoon Aquatics. Long Island Fish Guy. Planted Tank. Raccoon Creek.
River Life is here. I'm representing Rack.
Yeah, she's got it. She's got her
I got it
there. So I'm probably forgetting some people I know. If I do, it's not Fish Nerd Vlogs is here. I know I'm missing some more people. If I've missed you, just holler out and say, "Hey, BamAquatics, you missed me." Anyway, it's good to have everybody here. We're happy to see everybody here, and the Guppy Puppies is here too. That's one I noticed. I saw that I missed. Yeah, we were talking earlier, and I just have moved just a couple of tanks, and I did it probably a way like a lot of things that I've done in the past. Probably not the best way to do it, but it worked out okay. Well, I moved a 10-gallon tank just by draining almost all the water out of the tank. And I was going a short distance, and so I actually transported the fish and everything in the tank over to the
wow. How did that work out?
It worked fine. I mean, it worked fine. It was dangerous and risky, I suppose, but I live on the edge sometimes, I guess. But it was fine. Nothing happened. Didn't have any casualties or anything like that. And then I did a 20-gallon where I took all the fish out and put them in a bucket and all that and separated them. But I just drained all of it down except for about that much water on that tank and moved it over onto a piece of wood and transported it. But it was still pretty heavy and still very kind of nerve-wracking, but it worked. So
an empty tank to me is very heavy.
Yeah, I had to have somebody else to help me. I see Liz has just showed up from One Fish, Two Fish. So good to have you.
Hey, Liz.
We got your pal here talking a little bit about what's going on. She's moving some tanks. So tell us a little bit. You were talking to me, and I don't know if everybody else knows this. They may know more about what you've got going on, maybe than I do. But I didn't realize. I knew you were into exotics a little bit. I knew you had a few reptiles, but I had no idea to the extent that you were into exotics. Tell us a little bit more about what you have, maybe. Besides fish. We're going to come back to the fish, but tell us a little bit more about what you have that besides the fish.
Okay. It started off, I rescued a 6-year-old. I didn't rescue it. It's not like I went in a burning building and grabbed it, but I got a tortoise, a Russian tortoise from my nephew who was not interested anymore. He was becoming a teenager, so I gladly took that. Then I got aquatic turtles. Then I got a 6-year-old bearded dragon. Then I got leopard geckos. Then I got my blue-tongued skink. Her name is Sapphire, and I'm absolutely in love with her. She eats cat food. So easy. I have crested geckos that I'm thinking about breeding. Not reptiles, but I have poison dart frogs and axolotls. I love my axolotls. I have 3, and my daughter has 2. What other reptiles? So yes, I absolutely love reptiles. And terrariums and aquariums and paludariums and vivariums and everything else they call them.
You have all kinds of ariums, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just was drawn in by your little skink. That was pretty cool. Was it blue tongue skink, right?
Yep, from Australia. It's from Northern Australia. And oh my gosh, love her.
What made you cue in on? I noticed that there are different ones. You know, what made you decide you wanted that particular variety? I saw where you went out and searched and were looking for exactly this one. I mean, what made you decide on that one?
Well, some of the other skinks, a lot of them are wild caught. Australia does not allow exports, so all Australian skinks are, you know, captive bred and born. They have a little lower humidity, so I don't have to miss the tank 2 or 3 times a day, which is good. And I just love the colors and the stripes on them. And what I have is a hypomelanistic, I think it's called. So it's a little brighter colors. And I saw one this one table with like 2 reptile shows ago, and I liked her, and she didn't do it for me. And then when I saw Sapphire, I knew. I was like, oh, she's mine. It was like pushing over the little kids, like, out of my way.
Get out of my way. This is mine, mine, mine. Yeah. She was the one, huh?
Oh, she was absolutely the one. And she's still getting used to her. I have her in a 40 breeder. It's the same footprint as a 40 breeder. It's a front opening 40 breeder. And it's bioactive. So almost all my terrariums are bioactive. And what that means is I have bugs and critters that live in the substrate, that eat the poop, that eat mold and mildew. And it's almost like its own ecosystem. So my kids aren't very happy that I'm propagating bugs, but...
Oh, well, if the skink likes it, as long as Sapphire's happy, everybody's happy, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I kind of like doing that in aquariums too. You know, having a lot of people don't like snails. I mean, you know, and they can get out of hand pretty easily. I understand, but I like to have you know, have sort of that complete ecosystem. I've got snails and shrimp and you know, fish and all different things in the same aquarium on some of them, and I really like the way that works because the snails do an awesome job of keeping the algae down. I mean.
Yeah.
You gotta admit
I'm a fan of snails too. Absolutely. I think I got my first one when I got a plant from Dustin's fish tanks, and I thought that, like, I was insulted. Like, I got a snail, ew. And then all the benefits that came about from snails, and now I have 10 pea puffers and a dozen clown roaches. So I can't get enough snails. I can't keep them enough.
How many puffers do you have?
I have 10 pea puffers. So they're only going to get about 1 inch, but they eat snails, they eat bloodworms, and they are so adorable. They sit on a leaf at night and sleep like the leaf is a hammock. Oh, I just absolutely love them.
And what size tank do you have those guys in?
They are in a 20 high.
20 high. Okay, cool. I like some puffers. I haven't gotten any yet, but I've toyed with the idea, so I haven't. Do they need the brackish water, or are they completely fresh?
Mine are completely fresh. I don't think they're brackish at all. But I can't. They will not take pellets. They will not take flakes. And I've tried all different tricks. Mine will only take bloodworms. And what I do is I keep them on the tweezers and jiggle them a little bit so they look like they're alive, and they go after them. So that's pretty cool.
Well, they don't need any,
go ahead.
They don't need any other, like, I don't know, like any brine shrimp or anything like that?
No, I end up scooping it out of the tank. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Something else.
I guess they've decided what they like, and that's what they want, so.
Vibra-bites. I think I'm going to have to try that. Rack is suggesting Vibra-bites. I think I have a sample pack. I might try that.
Yeah, I saw another question for you up there about the puffers. Long Island Fish Guy asked, aren't pea puffers a little weak, like not hardy?
Mine are after quarantine. Now, when I quarantine them, because I believe all puffers come with parasites of some sort. But if they make it through the quarantine and the medication, I've had mine since I started. So, yeah, I think I've lost 2, and I think she was pregnant. So, I don't know how that worked out, because they're kind of aggressive for the little guys.
Right, I bet. Yeah, I've seen that they're pretty aggressive when they're going after some food sometimes too, right?
Oh, yeah. They'll grab the same worm. I could have put 4 worms in there, and they'll grab the same worm on other ends, and they sit there and do it like a tug of war. I'm like, dudes, they're all over the place. Come on.
That's funny. I like that, though. I'm going to have to try those sometime. I've sort of expanded out a little bit past I started with just mostly guppies and then my swordtails here. And then I expanded out a little bit. I've got some shrimp and some killifish and some other things, some different live bears now. But I haven't got any puffers yet. So that's
I would love to get into killifish. I would love to
I've recently done that. So I have to.
What kind of killifish do you have?
I've got a couple of different Aphyosemians, and I've got some Aphiosimon Kofe, Aphiosimon Australe Gold. Then I've got a couple of lampies also. I can't remember their names right off the top of my head. Those technical names, I know there's a lot of these people that can just spit all those names out. Those guys. I have to write it down so I can remember, and after a while I'll get
practice it over and over and over. Yeah.
I'll remember it, but it's going to take me a while. So I figure there's no point in making it up because you guys, some of you guys will be able to call me on it. So I just say, hey, I'm not sure. And that way I don't get in trouble for telling you something that's not true.
That's what I say is I have angelfish. Oh, what kind? I said angelfish. I have angelfish.
Angelfish, all right. And I did notice a minute ago, Long Island Fish Guy asked about the racks here. Yes, they came from, I believe these came from Home Depot, I think. And I've got a video coming out where I'll explain what they are. Not that I'm trying to keep it a secret, but again, I don't remember exactly what they were called. It seemed like it might be called mussel racks or something like that. But they're doing good so far. I haven't got them loaded down yet, mind you. The one thing I'll tell you just real quick, the one thing about this rack system that I do not like is that this middle shelf, it may be a mess over here, and it is, but this middle shelf right here, this is the middle shelf, and it must be in this position. This shelf will not adjust. And so you cannot, these shelves, the lower shelves will adjust, but this middle one has to be fixed in this position, and it limits how much room you can have between here. And I have enough room to open this lid, but I don't have much extra room at all. So that's the one thing that I would say kind of limits this rack system a little bit, is that middle shelf doesn't adjust. And so you're sort of fixed on that.
So why doesn't it adjust? Is it because the coupling is right there, or?
Yeah, it is. That's exactly right. The coupling is right here, and it hooks together right there. And this one has to hook on this top part of the beam, and this one has to hook on this bottom part of the beam here. So this shelf.
Oh, I see which ones you got. I actually went out and bought couplings, so I didn't, because I was so afraid. But the lady on the phone said, no, they're sturdy this way. But I was afraid without the metal couplings that it's just like
they just kind of sit on top of each other. Anyway, one day I may be having a terrifying video where I'm soaking up water and all this, but listen, if that ever happens, if it happens, if you see that video from me, you'll know this was not the rack system to get, okay? So far, so good. It's only got a few tanks on the bottom and then this tank here on the middle. So anyway.
So is that 4 foot long by 18?
It's actually deeper than 18 because the 10-gallon tank will go all the way back. I think it's 4 feet long by 24 inches, maybe 20 something inches.
So Elizabeth knows of this material that you can cover it with because it's on particle board, right? And it's not really sitting on the metal lip. So she has this material that keeps the particle board dry, and it looks amazing. I forget what it's called. It's called marine something. But she uses on hers, and that helps the actual wood stay dry. In our case, the particle board. Yeah,
well, that's what mine is too. So I'm just gonna have to keep mine dry, I guess. I'm not gonna let it get wet enough that hopefully that we'll have any problems. How about that? Hopefully, I'll see if you get some video. You definitely need to marine vinyl.
That's it. Yep.
So anyway, hopefully we won't have that video, but so far so good. And I saw Brandon, Maple Street Aquatics is here, and Vanessa, his better half is here also. Dila is going in. Dila just turned 30, everybody. Wish Dila a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Anybody that didn't know it was Dila's birthday does not subscribe to her channel because she only announced it for every day leading up for the last 6 months. No.
That's what I do. That's what I do, so nobody forgets.
Just like maybe 4 or 5 days, I don't know. But she did have several videos leading up to it. So she had a great birthday. and everything is good. So
mine happened to fall on Aquatic Experience. So it was like, what?
how about that? Yeah, they went to the casino and had a nice dinner, and I watched the video. So anyway, yeah, and Racing Natural Aquariums has joined us while we've been talking. So that's awesome. Good to have you with us, Rob. And if I miss anybody, just put something in the chat and say, hey, you missed me, and I will be sure and mention you as well. Let's see here.
Look at Elizabeth said a fun fact about my Harley. I ride a Harley. I ride a Softail.
Oh,
yes, I do.
Fun fact.
I love it.
Oh yes, I remember. I think I may have seen. Have you had your Harley in a video or on a?
Oh yeah, because I go fish store hopping on my Harley.
I remember seeing that. Yeah. Honeybee asked if you were 21 at AE. Susie, 21?
Yes, I did. I turned 21.
How about that?
21, 59. It's all the same.
It is. It's just a number anyway.
Yeah. Next year it might be a little funny, 60, the big 60.
I know. Everybody thought it was hilarious when I turned 50, I mean, that was just, I thought, well, man, I'm a little bit older than I was yesterday, so what's the big deal? Let's see. Heirloom Aquatics has a tip for me, seems like. Let me read this. At BamAquatics, if you move that tank up one shelf and move that shelf down, use the coupling shelf as storage, you will get a lot more room. That's what I just did Saturday with mine. Hey, that makes good sense.
Good idea.
See there? I mean, I just needed to have this chat before I did this.
Just move tanks. It's real easy. Just swap them up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to pick this up and I'll move it right up. It won't be any problem. It's a great tip, and I may do that. I might. Yeah. I'm not going to promise, but I would like to have a little more room. But moving this tank is not really something I'd look forward to doing. So I don't know. I'm not going to promise, but we'll see. Let's see here. I thought there was one other. Liz says, "Yep, that's when she knew you were certainly a badass." I guess she's talking about when she knew you rode a Harley, maybe. Yeah,
and Honeybee rides a Harley too. We got to go riding. Well, I guess we're not on the same continent, so it'd be kind of hard, huh?
Yeah. Honeybee says she has a fat bob, and then she wanted to clarify that to make sure we understood that was a Harley. So, yeah, right under that, she put Harley Davidson.
That's right.
I guess that could be confused for something else, maybe. But anyway, so tell us about your fish. We're going to continue to have a good time and talk about all kinds of stuff, but tell us.
So one of the most exciting things that's happened, and I live in a small world, so this is very exciting. I'm trying to do shrimp again, and I got some shrimp at Aquatic Experience. I got the tank from Ken Lee. I got some shrimp from QueAquatics, other shrimp from LR Bratz, Lucas, and I have babies. I have little yellow baby shrimp. I'm so excited.
Having little shrimp, I mean, having fry is exciting, but shrimplets, there's just something about the little tiny shrimplet that you have to squint to see, and you're not sure if you see it or not. So
I couldn't tell, and I tried to take a picture of it, and no such luck.
But they grow so fast. I've had shrimp for a little while, and mine, I have shrimplets, I think, in all my tanks now. I have, I think, 5 different varieties of neos now. And I started like you, though. I just got a few, and then they had shrimplets, and so then it just grows. It's kind of like the fish. You have to be careful.
Yep. So at my house, I have all freshwater tanks. But my fiance lives 2 towns over, and I asked if we could set a tank up. He said the only way we could set a tank up would be saltwater. So I have a 64 bow front and a nano reef tank over there.
Right, and you had some troubles with one of the tanks, right?
Oh, I had troubles, yes.
Well, I don't want to bring
Apparently, when my big dog-faced puffer passed, some poison was released, and I must have lost 10, 15 fish. It was devastating. It was traumatic. It was like I couldn't, like all remedies, it was just happening so fast. And I didn't know that's what was happening at the time, but it was like, But there was one lone survivor, and now we built it up to 3 fish in that tank, and we're taking it nice and slow because they're very expensive fish too. Like, what?
Yeah, they usually, the one thing I've noticed, it seems, at least to me, I don't know, maybe different if I was a saltwater fish guy, I might feel different, but how do you feel that, don't you feel like that the saltwater fish are a little more expensive?
Extremely more expensive because I don't get expensive freshwater fish. I mean, I have 1 or 2 fish that are like prized possessions, but for the most part, all my freshwater fish are $20 or less. And that saltwater fish, man, one fish could be like $60, $90. Yeesh. And you need to run RO water, RODI water. So we set up a system for the RODI water, and there is so much waste in water. If I did it at my house, I have to pay for my water. He lives in an apartment, so it's like, okay, we'll do that for now. But there's got to be a way to recycle that water somewhere.
Yeah, I like I said, I've not even done any research on it, saltwater tanks. That's something that would be, if it's in my future, it will be in my distant future probably, on down the road, maybe when I decide, well, I've done what I want to do with freshwater fish, but I think it'll be a while before I get to that point though. But I tell you, every time I go to see a tank and see a saltwater tank and see the fish, I mean, it does make me wish I had a saltwater tank, but I realize that there's a lot of work to getting it set up and all the things you have to do like that. With anything, if you want to have something like that, you have to work at it. But
yes, and then my second tank I ever had, I got Mbunas. And I still have them over here, and they've gotten quite large. You know, I got mixed Mbunas that were about 1 inch at the fish store, and now they're 4 or 5 inches, and they breed all the time and very aggressive. I'm constantly going in and rearranging the rocks. So when I rearrange the rocks, they stop fighting with each other, and they're so busy trying to find new territory. So it's like a distraction. But they leave the babies alone. I'm shocked. They respect the babies. I guess they're not a threat to them. So that's my second tank. Love them. And I have 2 kinds of fish from Lake Tanganyika. And I don't think I have anything from Lake Victoria. Is that the 3rd lake? I know there's more than 3 lakes, but I think that one I don't have. Everything else I got live bearers. I have a lot of tanks inside now from summer tubbing. I wasn't prepared for all those fish.
So what did you have when you started the tub? I saw when you were breaking down your pond and all that kind of stuff. So what was it? I didn't see the beginning part though. So what was it? Because that's something I'm planning to try to do maybe this upcoming summer. Living here in Alabama, we have a long, warm summer, so I'd be able to go from like March all the way through like November almost, October anyway. So what did you start out with when you put the fish outside? I mean, what did you decide?
So some of my summer tubs that I had, besides my pond is 2,000 gallons. And the only thing that were in there are koi and goldfish and mosquito fish. They eat mosquito larvae. But my summer tubs, I kept finding these tubs, you know, on the side of the road or free that weren't small tubs. They were pretty large tubs. And one was white clouds, one was gouramis. I did guppies because I have some fish that are like feeder guppies. So I kind of need to keep propagating that. I know that they're healthy fish because my turtles like to eat guppies, and I don't like buying them from the store. And the white clouds are spectacular. And about in New Jersey by the shore, I have a campground that I stay at a lot of the summer. Even though I still work, I have a campground. I set up a summer tub there, and white clouds were there, and they propagated, man. It's almost like they changed color. They're the most beautiful bluish. It's spectacular. I was like, wow. It was kind of sad that I had to break down the tubs and, you know.
Yeah, well, it comes a time. I guess you can start some new tubs, though, when it warms up again, right?
Oh, I am so ready. I am very ready.
So where are you from again?
I live in Pennsylvania, and I'm pretty close to Philadelphia.
Okay. So what's the temperature there like recently?
I have to wear a jacket. My pond is frozen over. And I look down at some of my koi and goldfish, and I just get this lump in my throat because this is my first year with them. And I don't know, are they going to be alive? They look like they're popsicles. I get so like, but trust the system.
I guess. I don't know, because I've never had a pond, and our ponds here would only freeze for a short amount of time if it did. Living here in Alabama, I mean, we do get cold here, but I'm in North Alabama, but we don't have stuff where like the lake freezes over or anything like that. Some stuff occasionally freezes over.
How close are you to Susan?
I am about an hour hour and 20 minutes from Susan. Yeah, I went. We visited a while back, and probably going to have we are going to have a meet and greet with some other folks from around, like in January sometime. So yeah, we're pretty close together.
Cool. So Elizabeth and I are planning on taking a road trip, and we're going to pick up Racing and his girlfriend along the way, and some others. And we want to, I think, Donnie from NY Gold. We want to do some like local fish stores, or maybe go see like Rachel O'Leary. Maybe take a trip out to the aquatic experience. And no, what is it called? Aquashella.
Aquashella
in Chicago.
Chicago.
So we talk about a lot of and V-Stag. That's right. We can't forget about V-Stag. We'll pick him up. Maybe just go see. Just I guess it's a get together. We don't really need to do anything, but we all met each other and started to get to know each other pretty well online. And then we see each other at Aquatic Experience, and it was just like, this is great. Like, it's just great.
Yeah, everybody that I've talked to now, I've heard stories that the show itself maybe didn't live up to everyone's expectations, or maybe some people expected more, some things happened they didn't like, or whatever. But the one thing that everybody says is what a great experience it was for everybody to get together and to get to meet people and make friends and all that. So I have no doubt that that's something that I want to do. Hopefully this upcoming year. I've thought about Aquashella too in Chicago. So that may be something that I try to do too. So, but I've heard it blast. So yeah, you agree then?
Oh, it was an absolute blast. And since I had never been to one before, I thought it was amazing. I had no expectations. And when you have no expectations and you're going with such enthusiasm for meeting people, and everything was awesome. So I know there were some glitches other people talked about, but I guess because I was so thrilled about it, like, okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, and I remember, one thing I do remember is I remember watching your video where you were at the aquatic experience and you had gone for the first day, you had come back to your hotel room, and you were excited about all the different things that you had gotten done. So I do remember. So yeah, so I could see the excitement. So I could tell you really were excited that, and others too. Rack, I've seen some of his, and several other people too that have put some videos on, and everybody.
And did you see Elizabeth's tinfoil hat?
Oh yes, we talked about
her hat. It was great.
Hat and her lemon hat, and we talked about all her different hats when she was on the show. I don't call her the bag lady, but the hat lady.
That's great. That's
She's
great.
the one with the hat. So we've had a lot of people come in here. I don't know if we had a lot of people comment on the things we've been talking about the aquatic experience and things like that. I think Rob's been talking some biking stories here. It looks like. And Liz had something nice to say about you that I want to be sure you see, is that Susie's about as passionate about her tanks and the hobby as it gets. That's something she really loves about you, is your enthusiasm. So I saw that a minute or two ago, and so I wanted to mention that.
Oh, that's nice. Elizabeth and I really connected. We're like sisters. It's like instant connection.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys are easy to talk to and easy to connect with. So you guys make it easy to do a chat like this with, because you guys just kind of we just talk.
Keep talking. You mean we just keep talking?
I like just to have a nice chat with somebody here, and just bring a few of our friends along for the ride, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. So I I was going to ask you. You were talking about your cichlids, your Mbuna tank, and what size tank do you have those in?
Right now, they're in a 40 breeder, and they're about 3 inches. They're each about this 3 inches long, and I have about 15 of them, and then about 10 little babies. So I'm sure I'm going to need a bigger tank.
But you overstock them, though. You do that intentionally?
I do it intentionally to keep the aggression down.
And that's what I thought. That's what I was kind of wondering, because I've heard other people talk about that, people that know a whole lot more about cichlids than I do. But I've heard them talk about how that if you want to keep cichlids, a lot of times it's good to just to overstock a little bit to help lower the aggression rate. Mm-hmm. And I'll have to say something.
Amazon swords get really big. I have 1 or 2 upside down in that tank. And for them, it's just like salad. They're just going to chew it up and eat it, which I don't mind. But there's so much greenery hanging down that adds more distraction as they're swimming around trying to get to each other. So,
yeah, and I thought about something when you were talking about rearranging the rocks, and there may be people that think that this is disrespectful or something, but it's not, because I have a friend, and I'm going to tell the story first, and I'm going to tell why, to give my story away. So it made me think about rearranging the furniture like on a blind person, like in their house, to keep them off guard. So it's kind of like what you're doing with their tank, you know. And the reason I say that is because I had a friend who is blind, and he said, if you ever want to get back at me, just sneak in here and rearrange the furniture. He said, and that's the way you can get back at me if I ever do something to make you mad. So rearrange.
Because I did that, not intentionally. My daughter came home from college, Thanksgiving, you know, and I usually have 15, 20 people at my house, and she brought one of her friends who happened to be blind. And she came before I rearranged for Thanksgiving. And she went through the house. I didn't realize this at the time, and found where everything was. Then they went shopping. Well, while they were out, we rearranged the whole house. And she came back from shopping. She's like, is this a joke? Oh my gosh. I had no idea. It didn't even cross my mind.
He's that way. He knows where everything is. So. Adela had, she just cleaned the tank. She's got some baby guppies. So congratulations, Adela. That's awesome. And they're your strain. Tell us what, I've seen them before, but give us a brief description of what they look like. I forgot. So, but that's cool. It's always fun to have baby guppies or shrimplets or whatever. So that's always cool. So what made you decide you wanted to be a fish tuber, Suzie?
Okay, it started when I got my last Christmas. So I've been doing this almost a year. And I got my 120-gallon tank as a present. And it wasn't to be a fish tuber as much as I want to document my hobby. I want to see my progression. I want to, and I don't have a lot of fish nerds around here to talk to. So I just wanted to share what I had gotten so much from doing my research. You know, and I make sure I tell people during my videos, this is not educational. Like, I'm learning. This is what I'm doing. And so that's why I started. And I'm coming up on 1 year on Christmas Eve. And it's a whole nother world of education. Learning about storage space and editing and thumbnails and hashtags and like, are you...
And then once you get all that down, then people say, well, aren't you on Instagram? Well, why don't you have a Facebook page? Well, what about your TikTok? Figure out how to do YouTube. So I do have an Instagram, but I don't really use it. I'll have to be honest with you. I don't really use it. But yeah, it's fun. I have a great time just learning about things, coming on here and meeting people and talking to people like you and all that. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So
I have a blast.
You guys have any questions? Liz said that when the two of you get together, I don't think she said that y'all can't shut up. Do you do any fish breeding? Petsotics, Diego wants to know.
I do. I breed angelfish. I breed guppies. I breed red-tailed Dalmatian platies. The summer tub was, they bred themselves. I barely even fed the fish. They just ate whatever landed in the water and stuff like that. And what else have I bred? Oh, blue endlers, blue Japan endlers. I had a male from Florida when I went on a trip, and it wasn't for like 6 or 7 months that I bought another one, a female from Lucas Brett's, and now I have a whole tank full. It's like, I don't cull them like her. It's like I'm not trying to perfect a strain. I just think they're gorgeous, so I have those. So those are the fish that I'm breeding. I'm going to be breeding some turtles and crested geckos in the spring. So.
Oh, okay, crested gecko. So what does it take to breed a crested gecko? I mean, it takes a male and female gecko, but
male, female, yes. And the females are going to have 2 eggs every month, no matter what, whether they're fertilized or not. They're going to lay 2 eggs. I like the crested gecko to start with because I'm brand new at it. I don't need an incubator. It's room temperature. So when I get the eggs, and they say to mark the top because you don't want to tilt them upside down because you might dislodge the embryo. And you put them in like some vermiculite, room temperature, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Now, the actual breeding is a little aggressive. So that's why I'm waiting to the spring. I'm doing a lot more research because it looks like it's very aggressive. So, but I have the male and female side by side, and they look at each other through the glass and everything. So that's pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if you kept them together or separated since you said it was aggressive, so you keep them separated. I got you.
Well, because they're in 18 by 18 by 24 tanks, which is kind of small. If I was going to put them together, I would want a much larger tank so they have their own space.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. Dr. Sashimi Aquatics had a question for you. Do you have any catfish?
I have Pictus. Is it called a Pictus?
I believe so.
I have one, but it's really small. And it's in with my shell dwellers. And I'm thinking that's probably why I don't have any babies. Because I heard shell dwellers like to propagate a lot. But I'm not sure why I don't have a lot of babies in there yet. But I think that's the only catfish I have. I have plecos. But that's not a catfish, right? It's just a bottom dweller.
No,
I think that's the only catfish I have.
They kind of look like catfish, though. I think it's its own thing. I think they may be in the same sort of general classification, maybe. I don't know. Just making stuff up now.
Yeah. That's what I do all the time. I tell people in my videos, I could be making this up. Just saying.
I may be making it up, but it sounds good. You know, do you believe it? Diego Petsotic said that he loves his angels. He asked what kind you have. We talked about this a bit before we even started the chat. And look,
white with black stripes, and this other one's black. Those 2 out of all my angels are the only 2 that pair. So I've had probably 5. Are they called litters? Broods, bunches. I've had 5 babies, groups of babies. And from the first one, I had like 15, 20. That by the time they got to be 50-cent pieces, I sold them, and I got a lot of food from the local fish store. And now I have like 15, 20 throughout the tanks, and I have babies that are the size of the quarter, and I got free swimming wigglers all over the place, but it's the same 2 parents out of all these fish. And I've introduced different angelfish, and nobody pairs up.
How about that? Yes, we have confirmation. Plecos are catfish.
But then I have plecos. I have a L188, L177, the blue, royal blue pleco. Downstairs I have a gold stardust pleco, cat, like a striped, not the zebra pleco, but a striped pleco that I never see. I never see. But moving these tanks, I know he's alive because I found him. I'm like, oh, look at him. So I guess he's happy if I gave him, you know, spaces to hide. So yeah, if they're catfish, I do have some plecos, and I have some long-finned red plecos I got at my local fish club, and I'm going to try to breed them. But right now they're only this big, so I don't think they're breeding age yet.
Okay, and I have some angelfish that I got from Susan, actually 4 young angelfish, and 2 have paired up, and they keep spawning, and they the eggs, I've seen the eggs, and 2 different times. One time they became fried eggs because they laid them on the heater. And so then the second time they laid them on a plant, and I left the plant thinking, well, let's see if they're going to raise them themselves. And they're not. So if I want them, it appears as though I'm going to have to take the eggs out. So maybe next time I might try that. But if they would lay them on that plant again, I could just take the whole plant out, put it in its own tank. But
so my angelfisher probably took about 5 or 6 times of them eating their own babies before they were successful. But I have never removed them. I've always let them take care of them, or eat them, or so. Because maybe I'm lazy. So.
I'd rather do it that way. It's less work, and I take care of my fish, and we change the do the water change to do all that stuff, but try to keep it as simple as possible too, you know. So,
well, you're growing some cultures, aren't you, that you would feed baby fish, aren't you? Yeah,
I have a microworm cultures that I've started growing, and I have baby brine shrimp, but I don't.
Fascinating.
But those are the only 2 I have right now, and I'm probably going to get a fruit fly culture. Some of the killifish I have love fruit flies. So I'll probably do that before long.
I have a lot of fruit flies, flightless fruit flies. I have to make one of these every week for my poison dart frogs.
Oh, okay.
So I have tons of them. But if you miss a week, because it takes 3 weeks before you can use them, and then by the 4th week, they're done. You got to get rid of them because then mites will start to grow. So every one of them is labeled what day I made it. And when it hits 30 days, out they go, because I do not want mites.
Right. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Well, that's something that I would have to make sure to like go and date them and do the same thing, because I don't want mites either. But yeah, be sure, guys, if you haven't already, and I should have mentioned this a long time ago, but go and check out Susie's channel. I see that several people, we've had the link on here several times.
Oh, so, thank you.
Yeah, Suzie has a great channel. She's fun. She's just like she is here. Great to talk to or to listen to. I guess you can't really talk back to her when you're watching her. Well, you could. It'd be a little weird, but you can. Yeah,
the Irish Princess is here. Life with Fish.
Hey there.
I love her. Life with Fish. Life with Reptiles. I just love her. I could listen to her talk all day long. From Ireland.
Yes, the accent. She thinks that we have an accent, but I'm sure everyone thinks they have an accent. I say, I don't have the accent you guys do.
We got a Yankee accent, right?
Yeah. But, I don't know. It's just funny. This I found funny because when I was doing the stream with Brandon, he was talking about the things that grow below a plant. What would you call those?
Say it again.
The things that grow below a plant, like in the soil. What are those? It's R-O-O.
Oh, the roots.
Roots. Yes, they're not roots. They're roots.
They're roots. I'm from Pennsylvania. We say roots and water, but sometimes I say coffee.
There's a difference in the way we say things. I just find it interesting. So,
but that helps when you're saying the Latin names because it's regional. Like, does anybody really care if it's a beta or a beta? No. You know what I'm talking about.
We've had that discussion before here, and the consensus, at least here, was I think it should be beta, but it's kind of like tomato. It's the same thing. Beta. Who cares, really? Roof or roof. Yeah, there's another one. Rob's got another one.
Yeah.
Roof or roof.
Water.
What's a rude? 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 Are you being rude? What are you talking about?
Rough.
Beta drives me nuts. Well, I can't tell which one to say that.
I know. Is it beta or beta?
I don't know if I'm supposed to say beta drives me nuts beta or beta drives me nuts beta.
I grew up, and that's what they were called, beta fighting fish or Siamese fighting fish that you went at carnivals and things like that.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever had one.
Not the thing to call. We can't call them fighting fish. Like, that's not politically correct, I think.
I'm not always politically correct.
I'm not either.
And I'm in HR. Just saying.
Oh,
I am.
maybe in your day job, right? You have to be so
Exactly.
you get home, right? Let's see. BETA is beta, and the other one is beta. So which one does Peter prefer? I'm trying to.
Beta.
Beta.
Beta drives him crazy.
So beta drives him crazy. Okay. Well, we'll call it beta. You're here, Peter. But we're so happy to have everybody here with us. We're having a good time. So back to fish a little bit. I mean, so where do you see yourself sort of going from here? You're of course, I guess you're expanding the fish room because you're moving it to a new location.
I'm more of just moving it because to a basement floor. But what I'm delving into now is conservation. I'm getting into the CARES program. I've got some CARES fish that I'm going to be breeding. I'm learning about Project Piaba. So I'm taking it. I just love learning. And this hobby, it's never ending. It's never ending. There's always things to learn, try, practice. So that's where I'm going now with some more stuff. And I'm going to hone in because a lot of the fish that I have are getting bigger. So I'm studying their home habitat and trying to bring as much of that into the tank as I can. And that's huge for me. That's huge. It's not just a plain old tank with gravel. I'm trying to bring it a little bit more than, but it's a lot of studying.
Yeah, it is. I've got a few species that are a little bit, now I've got the Lemia perugiae, now I've got some Lemia tridens, which are a little bit less common anyway. They're not really endangered or anything, but I have talked to a few people and have considered getting some live bears that are a little bit more, the goodiids that are a little bit more endangered some. So I've thought about doing that some. Oh, yeah, Bob, I'll come right back to that. Is he here? I don't know if I've seen him, but we're still going to shout him out. Yeah, I've thought about doing that, and doing a little bit more of that. So we'll see where it goes from here. Yeah, but Bob had mentioned something about there's a young YouTuber that's 31 away from getting 1,000 subs. He just joined the TGA. And he wants to get to 1,000 subs by January the 1st. She's sporting her green bandana there. And,
yeah.
I have one on the way. Rack sending me one. So that's awesome. We'll come back to that. So, Bob, what is his, can you put a link to his channel? That's what I need. I
love when there's young people becoming fish tubers and that whole generation. I just absolutely love it. Setting up tanks for pre-teens and teenagers. I think that's just great.
So it is awesome. And I'm going to go ahead for those of you who may be watching. If you made it this far in the replay, then congratulations, first off. And second off, I'm going to put the link down below for those of you that are here. But here's his channel. Joe is his name. And there's his channel right there. So you guys, if you haven't already, head on over to Joe's channel and check him out. Give him some love, and we'll get him, see if we can't get him up to the 1,000 subscriber mark. And Rob also has his link on the TGA page. So I already got some people going, so that's awesome. So we're going to get him. We got 20 people in the chat here, so we ought to be able to get him several. Fish Nerd Vlogs was here earlier. So, yeah, he was here
earlier. And if you can, when you go to his channel and watch his videos, let him play out thoroughly the whole thing through. Sometimes we're interested, sometimes we're not. Just let it play. It gives so much support and it's free. So if somebody has a playlist, go to their playlist and let it run while you're doing something. That's very helpful when getting young fish tubers going. They may not have the subs, but once they get the views and more views, then YouTube will kick them out a little bit more, and then they'll get there.
Yeah, that's true too. That's something that we sometimes forget. I forget myself sometimes, but not only do the subs count if you have certain goals and you're trying to get your content more out there, but the time people spend watching what you're doing too matters. And so the time that we spend watching each other's videos and supporting each other is amazing as well. And so let's be sure and don't forget that as well. So one thing Liz asked me, have I asked you about all the clubs that you support on top of everything else you're doing? I know she mentioned
local fish aquariums. I'm very blessed in this area. In Bucks County, there's a Bucks County Aquarium Society, which I joined. I'm not like on the board or anything. I'm not active, but I go to all the meetings. Then by my campground on Jersey Shore, there is a fish club, which I just absolutely love. And I've been going to that. And a brand new clubs trying to get off the ground in Philadelphia. So that's like right in my backyard. So I went down to that, to their first meeting. I met them at the Jersey Shore, and they were looking for a place to actually have their meetings consistent. So as they were talking to me, I'm texting Father John. I'm like, can we use a church on this night? Blah, blah, blah. And so now they're going to be meeting in my church down in Philadelphia. So I'm so stoked about that. I just did a video. Cooper was in it, House of Buckets, David. There's so many great people just trying to get a club off the ground. So I'm definitely about supporting that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw the video where you first had, I think you'd been to one of the first meetings you had been to anyway, I think, and did see House with Buckets and several other people there. That was a cool thing. So, and I've seen you at several. You've done a couple of different videos where you were at different clubs, I think, as well.
Yeah, I absolutely love them. And we get some, I think, famous people who have written books. They bring in these speakers from all over. They come, and it's just fascinating listening to their knowledge and what they've experienced. And these are people, that's been in the hobby since before it was a hobby. It was just like, wow, it's just awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Unlucky for me, I wish that we had a fish club around here, and we don't, but that's something that hopefully with this meetup that we're doing in January, hopefully we'll be able to get something going there, because I think that that's something that's important. So you can get out and meet other people and all that. Of course, YouTube is great for that as well, but having a local club where you can trade fish and expand the hobby is really great too. So
and just support each other face to face. There's so much support. It's a wealth of knowledge all in one room, and you can actually see talking face to face. It's a little different than the fish fam. It's like my fish fam face to face, and I have my fish fam online. It's like, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Long Island Fish Guy wanted to know, which part of Jersey Shore do you go to?
It's by the Toms River area. Like if you just take 195 all the way to the shore, that area, there's a fish club. I think it's called Jersey Shore Fish Club, but I could be wrong on that. I could be making that up too.
Well, I don't know for sure. Just make something up.
Yeah. And then there's another club I haven't gotten to yet out in York. The King and Queen of Cichlids started that up. I don't know if anybody's seen their channel. It's an amazing, amazing team. They're going to be getting married, and they started a Cichlid Club of York Club of Cichlids. It's out there. I haven't gotten out there yet, but I have talked to him a little bit about it, and he did a video on if you're trying to start up a club, he tells you how he did it. So that's fascinating too. So.
Yeah, Rob asked, is the club you're talking about Forked River?
That could be. It's in a firehouse.
Yeah, and Brandon said their club's having a Christmas party this weekend, so that's cool.
Party.
Yeah, how about that? Well, we've been going a little over an hour. I know we still have 17 people in the chat, but I know Jeffro kicks off, I believe, at 8. My time. So we usually try to go about an hour and then kind of wrap it up. But if anybody has any last minute questions or anything you want to ask Miss Susie, that's part of the reason she's here, besides to keep me company tonight. So I do appreciate all the likes, everybody. I don't know how many there are, but I heard there were over 20, and that's amazing. Just appreciate everybody being here and supporting us. And coming out to meet and to get to know Suzie a little bit better. A Long Island fish guy invited us to the Nassau County Aquarium Society. So,
Long Island. I think that's not too far.
Says we should be a guest speaker, but that'd probably be easier for Suzie than myself, but I'm sure she might like to do that. And he says that they'll pay us. So I don't know. We'll have to look into that maybe.
That's right, Racing. I can hear you singing that song.
You know Suzie like I know Suzie.
You
I don't
know
know.
Suzie. I won't sing it. I was going to start singing. And I'm like, stop.
Go ahead. I'll turn the microphone over to you if you'd like to sing.
Not a note on key. I was in a rock band, though, for several years.
See?
I play keyboards, but not singing.
What we learn about Suzie, you know, it's kind of like after I just telling all her secrets and things. Like,
Nope.
She's a rock star, too. Not only is she a YouTube star, she's a rock star. So.
Yeah. I wouldn't go that far, but yes.
So yeah, Bob said one more time, don't forget to support Joe on the way out. Fish Nerd Vlogs. If the stream gets 25, Suzie needs to sing. Well, lucky for Suzie, I guess if she doesn't want to sing, I mean, we're down to 12 viewers. I don't know how we would. I guess you're talking about 25 likes, but anyway, we won't make Suzie sing tonight. Maybe next. Maybe next time we can get Suzie to do her own rendition of her favorite song. I don't know. We'll talk about that. But thank you so much, Suzie, for being here. It's been a blast talking to you and having a good time. We'll have to do it again sometime. We don't need to make this just a one-time thing. So we need to get.
Thank you for inviting me. That was awesome.
Need to get you and Liz and who knows who else, and we might could get several people. On the chat. Have to be very careful how I worded that just then. But we could get several people on the chat. But thank you very much for joining us. Everybody that's been in the chat. And thank you again, Suzie, for being here with us too.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a blast.
All right. Well, we'll see y'all next time. We'll be back next Thursday. And we'll have some videos coming in between then. But don't forget, Rack will be here next week. I should have said this sooner too.
Yes.
Up the video link early in the week so everybody will know that Rack will be with us next week, next Thursday.
Let's see if he's sporting his green. I want to see some green.
That's right. That's right. So we'll be back with you next Thursday. So thanks again, guys.